Welcome to my channel, Sewing with Tay. This is Fantasia from the Iron Emporium, and today we're doing a hand knit heart pillow. So we're going to be using chunky yarn today. So the tools will be 2 chunky yarn skeins, polyfill, scissors, and a lighter, and your hands. Let's jump right into it. Here's a visual. This is my yarn I got from Hobby Lobby. It's Yarn B Eternal Bliss. This is my polyfill. I didn't have enough, but I just used enough to get the tutorial done. I like these mini candle lighters and some scissors. So let's jump right into the tutorial. So we are going to open up our yarn and we're going to start with a slip knot. So we're going to make our hump, twist it, fold it over, pull the working yarn through, pull both sides. So we have our tail, our loop, and our working yarn. We want this to be kind of small, like 2 fingers small. It's going to be a little tiny because we don't want big gaps in our stitches. So once we have our first loop, we're going to make a second loop by pulling the working yarn through. Remember, we're going to keep these stitches tight. So now we are going to take that working yarn and we're going to pull it towards us, down towards the table, into that first loop. So it's going to go into this one. We haven't done this before, so watch the video. Watch it. The yarn is going to come towards you, down into the loop, down towards the table. It kind of looks like a little elephant. We're going to turn the elephant so that the working yarn is at the back, so the trunk of the elephant is away from you, and we have 2 loops. We're going to use our working yarn to knit both loops. So we're going to knit 1, and then we are going to knit 2. Once we have our 2 loops here, we want to make sure they're tight. You see there's the 2 loops and there's a space in between where we pulled the yarn across to make the 2 loops. So now we're going to knit that first loop and we're going to pull the yarn in between those 2 loops. That space there where the yarn went from left to right, we're going to pull the working yarn through that space up towards us to add a loop, and now we have 3 loops. So to continue this process, we're going to be adding loops to make the shape of our heart. Each time we're going to insert that working yarn in the space between the loops. Once we have 3, we're going to knit all 3 to get back to the right side. So now each time we get back to the right, we're going to be adding. So we're going to add 2 loops, 1 in each space in between the loops. So we are going to unravel my yarn. I like to have a little slack here, make it easy for myself. We're going to knit 1. And then we're going to knit in between the first and the second one. We're going to knit that now 3rd loop, and then we're going to add again to knit in between the last 2 loops. So we went from 3 to 5 loops. Once we get to the end and we now have 5 loops, we're going to knit all 5 loops, and I'm going to speed up the in between stitches. So we have 5 loops, and now we're just going to knit all 5 loops till we get to the right side. So each time we're going to be adding 2 loops, then we're going to knit all the loops. So now we have 5. Now we're going to go to 7 by adding a loop in the first and the last. So now we're going to knit the first one, then add a loop. So yeah, we just want to make sure that we're only adding that loop right under the yarn where we kind of went from one loop to the next one. So here we're going to knit these middle 3 loops just like regular, and then we get to these last 2, we're going to pull that yarn up towards us through the space underneath the yarn with our last 2 loops. So now we should have 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're going to knit all 7 loops. We're going to keep doing this until we get to 12. So we're going to add 2 loops until we get to 12 total loops. And now we are at 7, so we need 9. So we're going to add a loop in the first one, and we're going to add a loop in the last one. So we're going to knit the first one and then add the loop to make it the new second loop in this row. So knit 1, add a stitch here, right underneath there. Then we're going to knit 3. Sorry, I'm a little slow. I'm trying to keep this real time for you guys. 3, 4, 5, 6. So now we're going to add 1 here for 7 and 8. That should be 9. I must have miscounted somewhere, but let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I had to recount. Yes, there was 9 here in the video. So now that we're at 9, we're going to go to 11. You're going to add a stitch in the first section and in the last section. So we will have a total of 11 loops. So we're only going up to 12. So once we get to 11, then we will only add 1 more. But notes to know while I am knitting this, I'm trying to keep it real time for you guys so you can kind of see what's going on and be able to look at my hands and figure out what exactly I'm doing. We want to keep these knit stitches, these loops, small. We don't want them to be too big because then you're going to see the fluff inside of your pillow. So keep them tight, keep them organized, keep them clean and close together. So we're going to add a loop right here between the last 2 loops for a total of 11. So now we're only going from 11 to 12. So we're going to knit all 11 stitches. And then once we get to the other side, we are only going to be knitting 1 stitch in the first space. So we're going to add 1 stitch between the first and second loops that on the side that the working yarn is on. So that way we will have 12. So only 1 loop right there. We're going to knit the first one, and then we're going to just add that loop there, and then we're going to knit the rest of the loops like normal. I'm going to speed this up a little bit. So we're going to finish this row. When we get to the end, we will have 12 loops. Now we are going to continue. We're going to knit 4 more rows of 12. So this is all fast forward because this is just regular hand knitting. We're not adding any stitches here. Once we get through with these 4 rows of 12, we will start decreasing stitches to help make the shape of the top of our heart. But again, make sure that you are keeping your knit stitches small, tight, close together. You don't want any gaps because if you have gaps, you will be able to see the stuffing inside of your pillow. So now we have all of our 12 stitches. So to start our heart, we need to split these in half, so 6 and 6. So I'm just putting a little safety pin at my 6th stitch so that I do not get confused. The first thing we are going to do is we're going to knit 6 stitches and 6 stitches only. We're going to leave the other 6 stitches there, and we're going to come back to that side when we start knitting that side of the heart. So here I'm just going to knit 1. You want to make sure that your knit stitches are all the same. They're all coming up towards you unless you want purl stitches on your heart. Otherwise, your yarn goes up from the table towards you. So we're going to knit 6. And now we're going to start to decrease stitches. We do that by, we're going to overlap the outer loop over the inner loop, just like this. And then we're going to knit through both of them. This is how we are decreasing stitches. Now that we've decreased, we're going to just knit all the way to the other side with our remaining 4 loops. Then when you get to that side, we are going to decrease again. We're going to overlap the outer one towards the inner one and then knit through both stitches. So we have decreased again, and now we're going to knit regularly through the rest of the stitches. And we're going to keep decreasing till we get to the top. So now we have 4. We're going to take the outer one and put it over the second one and then knit through them again. And with this decreasing this way, we get a nice little braid on the edge of the heart, on the inside and the outside edge. So now we have 3 stitches left. We're going to decrease again, outer over the inner one, starting at the outside, and then we're going to pull the working yarn through, and then we're going to knit the last stitch. And of course, you guessed it, we're going to go the last loop, the outer one over the inner one, and then we're going to pull the yarn through. Once we make that loop, we are going to cut our yarn and then pull it through the loop to kind of seal it off. It looks kind of pointy right now, but when we put the hearts together, we'll have an opportunity to kind of shape it so that it's more round. Now we're going to move on to knitting the other side of the heart. So now what we have to do is take our working yarn, we're going to fold it in half, and we're just going to insert a loop. And by insert a loop, I just mean very simply folding it in half and then putting that loop that we just made inside one of the loops already on the heart. Make sure the tail from your yarn that you're adding is on the outside and the working yarn is towards the inside. So now, just like on the other side, we are going to knit all 6 stitches. And then we're going to start the decreasing process, same way we did it on the other side. So I am going to speed this side up a little bit because we've done this already, but it is the same outer loop over the inner loop, then knit all the rest of the loops in that row. Start your next row by overlapping the outer 2 loops, knit that one to make them one, then knit the rest of the row. And we're going to just continue to repeat this process until we get down to our last 2 loops. Every time we want to make sure that we are creating this nice like braid detail by putting the outer loop over the inner one. And then once you get done, you're going to pull your loop through both of them and then cut your yarn and pull it all the way through. So our heart is now complete. I did mention that it's a little pointy, but when we trim the threads, we'll be able to round it out a little bit. You'll have to do the same thing because you need 2 hearts. So we got to make 2 of them. I've already completed my other one. So to trim this up, we're going to tie our extra yarns into the back. So for the top pointy areas, we're going to kind of pull that yarn down through the stitches, through the purls to kind of round out those points. So we're just going to pull it down, tie it down to the inside of the pillow, and then it will help kind of navigate that like pointy shape. You're going to do that to both sides of your hearts. Reminder, you need 2 of these hearts. So this whole process we went through of knitting these hearts, you need 2 of them, a front and a back for your pillow. So once you have all your ends tucked in, we are going to lay our hearts down on each other, making sure that the knit stitches are up. So these are the knit stitches that we are currently looking at. So both sides should have knit stitches and both purl sides should be inside. So for this heart, I am doing a border. So I'm going to take my yarn, I'm going to make a loop, and I'm going to grab the edges of my heart and I'm going to pull the loop through those outer stitch edges. So you will see on your heart, there's 2 stitches on the outside. You're just going to pull the loops up through there. So I'm going to do 2 loops, then I'm going to take my working yarn and go through both of the loops. So I have 1 loop now. I'm going to pull my yarn up through the edge of the heart, and I'm going to pull my working yarn through 2 loops. I have 1 loop right now. I'm going to make a new loop by pulling it through the edge of the heart and then make a new loop using the working yarn. So I'm going to repeat this process all the way around the entire heart. I'm going to stop before I get to the end so that I can add the polyfill to stuff my pillows. But this part can seem a little bit confusing, so I'm going to continue to explain it. So hopefully I am as clear as possible. So the edge of your heart, especially where we did those braids along the top where we did the shaping, there's 2 stitches on the side. You want to make sure that you're pulling your working yarn up through those 2 stitches, and then you're going to pull your working yarn through both of those stitches to kind of close it off, to create that border. So you're going to pull your yarn up. You always want to make sure you have 2 loops, and then pull your working yarn through both loops. Although this is kind of sped up, I do want to make sure that you guys can kind of see what it looks like to go all the way around the heart. So I have some background music that's going to play so you can be able to watch this and analyze this. When you get close to the end, you're going to grab your polyfill and you're going to stuff her inside. Now, I did mention to you guys that I don't have all of my polyfill. It's a snowstorm here and it's at my studio, and this is what I had at the house. So you can stuff this more or less, but I thought it was so nice. Once you got your stuffing in there, you can kind of fluff it, squeeze it, kind of massage it around. But then once you get it to the point where you're like, okay, it's good, then you're going to continue to hand it the way we were doing previously. Once you get to your last loop, you're going to cut your yarn and then tuck it inside. I'm feeling pretty happy with my project. This is what she looks like. This is how big she is. Thank y'all so much for watching my tutorial. If this is your cup of tea, make sure you like, follow, and subscribe, and I will catch y'all at the next video.